Serious travelers of Reddit, what are some of the creepiest / scariest experiences you've had abroad? I went to visit Ukraine with my parents because they wanted to see the small villages where their parents were born. We have no family in the area, so we hired a guide to take us around, since the country can be a bit corrupt. As we were driving around on a highway, we suddenly were stopped in traffic, literally middle of nowhere. The guide gets out of the car and takes a look, then quickly jumps back into the car, does a U-turn and drives off, telling my mom we can't go to her mom's village. We ask why, and he says that was some kind of Russian militant roadblock. This was during the whole Crimea thing. Met a guy in Munich on the street, who had lived in the same house as I did, in Cincinnati, 40 years ago. I had a pack of wild dogs chase me from my bus, stopped in my hotel at 3 AM in Kosovo. On the red-eye train, stopped for a layover in New York. My friend and I are half asleep, sitting across from each other. A homeless guy snuck into the train, pulled his pants and underwear down, and tried to sit with my friend, encouraging her to help him out. I woke up just in time to see it happen. Took me telling the guy to find another place to sit for him to hurriedly pull his pants up and move somewhere else, only to try the same thing to another woman who was extremely vocal about it. The cops spoke with us. Apparently this guy was known for stealing cans from the subways, and this was a new MO for the guy. In 2016 I went to Brussels in a school trip. We were at the train station, and we left to Germany, I believe. Several hours later all of our moms just start calling and texting us asking where we were and stuff. Turns out there was a bombing in the train station. It's crazy to believe that the bombs were probably already planted when we were there. Edit. We didn't actually got on a train, we were just visiting the station. Got pickpocketed by a group of 3 on a Paris metro. I'm paranoid of losing my wallet, so I'm always checking myself. When I realized it was missing, I made a bigger scene than the pickpockets were making. They shoved me into their friend and were trying to convince people I knocked him down. I stopped the train from leaving the station. One of the other passengers left to got conductor and security. I guess that didn't sit well with the pickpockets, so they gave me back my wallet and took off running. Edit. This event still freaks my wife out. Was on a flight once going into Orlando that hit some unexpected turbulence. This was no ordinary turbulence. We went from 0 to 100 in an instant. People literally flew out of their seats. Luggage fell from the overhead bins. People screamed like they were going to die. There were several sudden drops in elevation strong enough that people's arms flew up in the air and my butt came out of the seat. I've flown quite a bit and sometimes it gets bumpy. This was the first time I seriously thought something bad was going to happen. I was staying in a weird hostel by myself in Barcelona. Woke up to a man staring at me while I slept. He was looking over one of those wood dividing screens that the shared room had. I pretend to still be asleep because I was afraid of what he would do if I move or confronted him, and I didn't know if there was anyone else in the room. He stared for like 2 hours until finally my alarm rang cause I had to take an early train. So I put all my stuff in my bag and left the room. As I left I told the owner, but I was really in a hurry and didn't ask what he was going to do with the guy. A friend and I were waiting for a night train in Naples, and after someone tried to steal our bags decided to go everywhere together. It was a good thing, because a man who had been whistling at us for an hour tried to follow us into the bathroom. A good friend of mine in Zimbabwe was grabbed at gunpoint and forced into a van. Thankfully they only took her to an ATM and made her drain her account, then they left her somewhere outside town. In India our bus rounded a corner in the mountains and another bus was on the other side of the curve. Both buses skid to a stop about 1 foot from one another. Both drivers started laughing and poking fun at each other. We saw a bus from the 80s that fell down the mountain about 15 minutes later. Hella intense. We went on a family trip to Croatia, and on our way to the beach we pulled over to the side of a road for a pee break. So we opened the car door, and like always our dog jumps out first. He ran into the field right next to the street. Then suddenly my mother starts screaming the name of our dog, because 10 meters away from our car was sign that said, "Stay away, old minefield." I was working at the Sochi Olympics and saw a pack of stray dogs chase and take down one of our team's translators before people scared them away. That was an eye-opener. Visiting Chicago from Seattle for a week. I booked an Airbnb with a gentleman understanding that I would be in a household with maybe 5 other people as he did bunk beds in the room. The Airbnb was marketed as close to trains, decent area, and the house looked clean with many useful amenities. Upon arriving at the house I find that it's rundown, unclean, with only the sheets being changed by the maid. On top of that, many appliances were broken, and there was no potable water. That was the first strike. Next, there were upwards of 15 people staying in the house. That bunk bed situation? He had 5 to 6 rooms with varying amounts of bunk beds squeezed in, and no room to walk. No one in the house knew about the other rooms from the listing. I dropped my things off to explore the city, and noticed the neighborhood was a bit sketchy, but thought nothing of it. When I came back there was one of the other guests sitting waiting for an Uber Eats, because he was too terrified to walk down the street and get food. Apparently, the night before I arrived, 3 people in the house were mugged while walking 5 minutes from the train to the house. That night, 8 of us sat on the floor of the living room. Seemed like a small dining area, but a lover's couch was placed in there with a broken TV, and heard 2 separate occasions of 8 to 10 gunshots a block away. I immediately moved to a hostel and argued with Airbnb himself until I received a refund. Mike, screw you. TL. Doctor, ended up in an Airbnb in a bad part of Chicago where 3 housemates were mugged and 2 people on the street were shot. Didn't stay another night. I witnessed a creepy old man groping a teenager on a crowded train in Osaka. The girl was just enduring it, and you can tell that she was holding back her tears. I whipped my phone out and started filming the guy, which made him use his other hand, which was blocked from my view. So I asked my guy friend to switch places with the girl. After that, on the next stop, the creepy guy got off. I asked the girl if she was okay. She thanked us, and her friends also expressed their gratitude. I think all of them, all teenage girls, were aware of the groping, but I read somewhere that it is not the Japanese culture to make a scene. I was aware that this kind of thing was prevalent in Japan, but I'm still shocked to see it in person. That creepy man in the poor girl's face will be forever etched in my mind. A cult behind several murders in China tried to recruit me for some reason. I have 2. 1. I was flying with my family, I was young, from Fort Myers FL to Detroit me on Christmas Eve, or maybe Christmas morning, and someone tried to set off a bomb in Detroit's airport. Fortunately they caught the guy before the bomb happened, but that was pretty scary to get around. My friends and I were in the UK, and we had met a group of guys from California, him from Michigan. We had fun and moved on. We were in the same floor of a hotel. Later we were in Sweden and we saw the same guys. We were waiting at the base of a mountain to climb up. Booked the same guide by chance. Then we were in Greece. Now my friends and I were all young women, and these guys, random Greek guys, start grabbing at us and pulling at us. It's the middle of a sunny day and we are almost being chased by these old men. No one is doing a thing. A car pulls up next to us, and the guys try to shove us in. We start booking it the other direction, and as we get to the corner, the California guys are there, again, by chance. Which was enough to deter the Greek guys, and we basically cried to them for about 2 hours, before they walked us back to our hotel. The Cali guys and us ended up going to a beach together the next day. I never saw them again. I was traveling by van through the mountains in the Philippines with a friend that is a really big guy. We came up on a checkpoint with soldiers searching cars. The guys were all wearing mismatched clothes and did not have any insignias on their uniforms or trucks. They searched all of our bags and were asking questions of the driver in Tagalog, which we did not speak. We heard them say American, and we were the only 2 Americans on the bus. They talked for a little while and finally waved us through. Later we told the story to another American, and he said we had gone through a guerrilla controlled area where Americans had been kidnapped for ransom lately. They all agreed they did not take us because of the size of my friend. I think we got really lucky that day. 17-year-old me was in a public restroom near the Colosseum in Rome. I was taking a leak at a urinal when some dude rushed into the urinal right next to me, looked over the partition at my junk, and he started jerking off extremely violently. I had just started and had to go something fierce, so I was trying to cover up, avoid jerking off, and not get pee all over myself. Suddenly the Roma police came bustling in and grab old boy and start yelling at me in Italian very loudly. As I zip up and throw my hands in the air, I simply say English and American. They demanded to see my passport and then hauled off. Jerk off guy. 0/10 not a good experience. The first day in the Philippines, when I landed in Manila, a white Canadian tourist was beheaded by people who align with us. So there was that. Friend of a friend went to Jamaica with her parents and sister when she was about 12. They came back to their hotel room one day to find a guy in there trying to rob them. He stabbed the girl's dad, he lived, and escaped. They had to go through family therapy after that. My buddy and I were flying into Malaysia from Vietnam on the day that MH370 went missing. We were at the gate watching the whole thing unfold about it going missing. It was playing on virtually all the TVs in the airport. We were flying Malaysia Airlines. The tickets were expensive for a backpacker's budget, and they weren't offering any refunds. Told ourselves that maybe they'd be extra cautious now, so we're actually more safe. Definitely puckered up for 2 hours until we touched down. I was in Guatemala and traveling from Antigua to Guatemala City. Apparently there is a shortcut called *THE trap that we took. It was absolutely insane. We plowed over rivers at about 45 miles per hour because bridges were out and were flung to the side of 1,000 meters cliffs going about 80 made out of sandstone. My buddy passed out due to the trauma. I asked after all of that why the hell we were going so fast, and the driver replied akin to "It's a trap after the sun goes down." I didn't fully understand. Was it vampires or something? He later stated, while driving a bit drunk near sundown at 100 miles per hour, no monsters in the trap. Only chicken bus. No lights. We would need to pull over and camp until daylight. Apparently on this stretch of road, chicken buses run people off the roads at night without care. After being sexually harassed for a good half hour by a guy at Roma Termini, I boarded my overpass train just to wake up to the sight of a lovely red-eyed man in my door with the words "I'm from Morocco, do you want me?" eloquently leaving his lips as he proceeded to point to all the beds in the coupe and sitting next to me in the bed. The first time I ever visited the London Bridge was the day the terrorist attack happened, where they drove a van through the crowd. It was my first time visiting New York City. My aunt and uncle, who both work in FD, Financial District, took the whole week off to show me and my family around Manhattan. Was almost jumped by a coked up drug dealer in the middle of the night in Peru for refusing to buy coke from him. Luckily his other drug dealer friend recognized me from earlier in the day. The drug dealers in that area run a front of jewelry making, and I had bought a necklace from the Amigo jewelry maker / drug dealer during the day. BTW, the necklace was handmade by him as well and is a work of F***king art. I was preparing for a real fight for my life, but the Amigo drug dealer put the other one in a serious headlock and yelled at him to back off. On a train in Athens traveling alone, a group of men tried to push me off the train with them at a stop. 3 women started yelling at them and pulled me back. It happened too fast. I didn't know until the one that spoke English explained they were trying to take me. They made sure I made it back to the hostel and told me not to wear what I was wearing, shorts and a tank, while alone. A handful of men in Thailand were vehemently trying to haggle with my friends to purchase me. They kept pulling my arms to try and separate us and asking how much and offering different amount of money. Edit. Jesus, this blew up. Thailand is a very beautiful place and very safe for travel, guys. The place I was at, Pate Beach, is the central location where we are allowed to stay when the ship pulls into port. It's basically nothing but bars and brothels. Don't go there. I don't know why they even let *US* go there. Even if you did go, you'd most likely not be in any danger. The people are very helpful and kind, but every place has bad people and we happened to run into them. I'm not even sure if these men were Thai. Don't let this freak you out from going. Sea does have a dark underbelly of human trafficking, but it's pretty unlikely you will be involved in it as a tourist. And everyone who is freaking out about the sailors buying underage girls, they're just stupid kids who want to get their dick wet. They have literally no idea that these girls are underage and just think they are paying a prostitute. Most of these idiots can't even fathom that child trafficking is a thing. We make every effort possible to keep this from happening and inform our sailors about what is really going on. Your average US service member is just as disgusted as you are that this happens to children. Make sure to like and subscribe for more daily content. Thanks for watching.